Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to get started on Sisters of Battle. I'm hoping to make a return to my normal Warhammer content after many weeks of primarily Lovecraft. So, this is a return home, I guess. The Sisters of Battle. The Adepta Sororitas, also known as the Sisters of Battle, are an elite sisterhood of warriors raised from infancy to adore the Emperor of Mankind. Their fanatical devotion and unwavering purity is a bulwark against corruption, heresy, and alien attack. And once battle has been joined, they will stop at nothing until their enemies are utterly crushed. Battle Sisters will stride through fire if need be, their bolters spitting staccato bursts of destruction every step of the way. Not even death can stay the wrath of the Adepta Sororitas. Indeed, the blood of martyrs only strengthens the resolve of Battle Sisters, spurring them to greater acts of heroism in the name of the honored fallen. The Adeptus Ministorum, or the Ecclesiarchy as it is generally known in the Imperium, is a monolithic organization founded on the worship of the Emperor as the savior of mankind and the preaching of the Imperial Creed throughout the whole galaxy. The Sisters of Battle are the army of the Ecclesiarchy. Clad in ceramite power armor, they carry an awesome array of weaponry with which to vanquish their enemies. The incredible wealth of the Ecclesiarchy ensures that they are equipped with the best war gear the Imperium has to offer. The Sisters of Battle are trained to the peak of human ability and stand amongst mankind's most dedicated and disciplined warriors. Wherever there are foes of the Emperor, the Sisters of Battle will be found fighting with faith and steel. When not actively prosecuting the Ecclesiarchy's wars, the Battle Sisters of the Order's militant divide their time between rigorous training and devout worship of the Emperor. Indeed, the Adepta Sororitas, the disciplines are nigh inseparable, for whilst combat drills and studies of battle tactics can hone the body and the mind, only penitent prayer can bolster the spirit, and all three are required to defeat the Imperium's foes. The combination of combat, doctrine, and prayer is most evident on the battlefield, where Battle Sisters loudly proclaim their faith in hymn and verse as they march to war, calling upon the Emperor to aid them in the fight against their enemies. The perfervid, unquestioning nature of this faith is a potent weapon indeed, manifesting as divine inspiration that drives the Sororitas to unprecedented feats of martial prowess. Sisters of Battle, gripped with holy fervor, banish wordly. I'm going to take this whole thing again. Sisters of Battle, gripped with holy fervor, banish worldly fears from their minds, shrug off mortal wounds, and summon preternatural strength to smite their foes. The Sisters of Battle believe their faith to be a weapon stronger than any steel, and those who witness their battlefield miracles are left in no doubt that the spirit of the Emperor indeed walks with these pious warriors warriors. Once battle has been joined, the Adepta Sororitas will stop at nothing until their enemies are utterly crushed. Schola progenium. The Schola progenium is responsible for the care and education of orphans of imperial servants. By the time a progena reaches early adolescence, they will have displayed skills in a specific direction, and their subsequent tutelage will hone them to a career in one of the imperial organizations. Most of the progena will end up in the Adeptus Terra as scribes, clerks, or overseers. However, a few will be assigned to higher positions. Male progena may become commissars or soldiers in the Imperial Guard, petty officers in the Imperial Navy, or enter the priesthood of the Adeptus Ministorum. Female progena may well be entered into the Adepta Sororitas. Progena of both sexes may be recruited into the Inquisition or even the Officio Assassinorum. Though the lifestyle of the teachers and pupils is strict and Puritan, it is a great honor to pass through the Schola progenium, and those who do are well aware of their privilege. The origins of the Adepta Sororitas. The Adepta Sororitas were founded during the turbulent times known as the Age of Apostasy. During the 36th millennium, the power of the ecclesiarchy was absolute. Its authority was virtually unchallenged, though the administratum had fought against this continued dominance for centuries. Much of the Imperium at this time was gripped by pre-apocalyptic gloom as internal revolt, alien invaders, and chaos renegades took advantage of the turmoil racking the galaxy. As world after world succumbed, entire populations turned to flagellation cults and horrifying acts of self-sacrifice in desperate attempts to rekindle the Emperor's light. Onto this doom-laden stage stepped the insane 361st High Lord of the Administratum, Goji Vandire. He was a brutal tyrant who took control of the ecclesiarchy in a military coup and assumed the dual roles of ecclesiarch and High Lord of the Administratum, driving the Imperium into the bitterest period of civil war and rebellion since the Horus Heresy, the Reign of Blood. Early in his tyrannical rule, Vandire discovered an all-female order of warriors known as the Daughters of the Emperor on the backwater world of San Leor. Vandire coveted this community, seeing in it a deadly army, if only he could bend it to his will. Through deceit and deception, he convinced the daughters that he was actually a pious man chosen by the Emperor to lead the Imperium. So it was that the daughters of the Emperor became Vandire's personal bodyguards, protecting him from assassination by his enemies. Countless millions burned in the fires of Vandire's reign of blood. It was during this dark, forbidding time that a sect known as the Confederation of Light emerged and denounced Vandire as a traitor. Led by the preacher Sebastian Thor, the Confederation of Light spread its message to a brutalized people only too ready to throw off the yoke of oppression. An orator of supreme skill, Sebastian Thor swayed whole worlds to his his cause and turned the tide against Vandire. As Thor's crusade smashed aside those who remained loyal to the Ecclesiarch, the Space Marines and the Adeptus Mechanicus, both of whom had remained largely on the defensive during the Age of Apostasy, were finally able to join forces with Thor and close on Terra. The ecclesiarchal palace came under attack, but for months Vandire's army withstood every assault. The madness only ended when the commander of the Adeptus Custodes, the Praetorian Guard of the Emperor himself, sought out Alicia, Dominica, and her most trusted companions, the leaders of Vandire's bodyguard. The Custodes took them before the Golden Throne and the God Emperor, and though no written histories tell of what transpired there, it was evident that some great truth was passed to Dominica and her fellow warriors. When they emerged from the bowels of the palace, they marched with barely controlled fury to Vandire's audience chamber. There, they found him in the midst of yet another insane tirade and, pausing only to condemn him for his crimes against the Emperor, Dominica cut the head from the traitor's shoulders. The reign of blood was over. You have committed the ultimate heresy. Not only have you turned your back on the Emperor and stepped from his light, you have profaned his name and almost destroyed everything he has striven to build. You have perverted and twisted the path he has laid for mankind to tread. As your decrees have stated, there can be no mercy for such a crime, no pity for such a criminal. I renounce your lordship. You walk in the darkness and cannot be allowed to live. Your sentence has been long overdue, and it is now time for you to die. Alicia Dominica to High Lord Gauge Vandire. The Reformation of the Ecclesiarchy. In the wake of Vandire's downfall, Sebastian Thor was declared Ecclesiarch, and the Imperium began the long process of rebuilding. One of the first acts of the new High Lord of Terra was to issue the Decree Passive, which forbade the Adeptus Ministorum from controlling any men under arms. Never again would the Ecclesiarchy threaten the continued rule of the Administratum. Due to its all-female membership, the daughters of the Emperor did not technically break this ban, and thus were incorporated into the ranks of the Adeptus Ministorum. Renamed the Orders Militant of the Adepta Sororitas, the sisterhood became true defenders of the faith and a very physical reminder of the power of the Ecclesiarchy. During the first years of the sisterhood's existence, Alicia Dominica, who founded the Orders Militant at Thor's behest, led wars of faith against the alien invaders that had exploited the Imperium's weakness during the Reign of Blood. Sylvana, Mina, Lucia, Catherine, and Arabella, those sisters who had joined her before the Golden Throne, accompanied Dominica. Under their combined leadership, the Sororitas were filled with a righteousness of purpose that the Imperium had not witnessed since the legendary days of the Great Crusade. Countless enemies fell as the armies of the Sororitas brought the divine judgment of the Ecclesiarchy to the darkest corners of the galaxy, and to this day, the Sisters of Battle have stood as faithful and loyal defenders of the Ecclesiarchy and the Imperium. The Orders Militant. Following Sebastian Thor's Reformation, the newly founded Adepta Sororitas were split between the Convent Prioris on Holy Terra and the Convent Sanctorum on Ophelia 7. Both of these convents are massive fortresses housing tens of thousands of sisters. In time, the Order's militant grew into larger and more powerful organizations, and Sebastian Thor's successor, Ecclesiarch Alexis the 22nd, decreed that the two convents each be divided into two orders militant. The convent prioris was split to become the Order of the Ebon Chalice, whose founder was Dominica, and the Order of the Argent Shroud, led by Silvana. The Convent Sanctorum was divided into the Order of the Fiery Heart, led by Catherine, and the Order of the Valorous Heart, led by Lucia. Though all these orders could trace their origins back to the original teachings of the Daughters of the Emperor, a small degree of variance in terms of organization and combat doctrine began to manifest as the outlook and persona of the founding leaders asserted itself. The Order of the Fiery Heart, for example, started to reflect the vengeful nature of Catherine, while the Sisters of the Argent Shroud became renowned for their heroic acts of self-sacrifice, echoing the selfless nature of Silvana. By late M36, the Adepta Sororitas had become synonymous with the power of the ecclesiarchy, implementing its dogma and persecuting its wars across the galaxy. The Order's militant spread, establishing subsidiary convents on key worlds across the Imperium. Dominica, Catherine, Silvana, and Lucia, all of whom had been declared living saints in their own lifetimes, performed legendary acts and led their orders in countless bloody victories. But such legends seldom end happily, and first Dominica, then Silvana and Lucia were martyred at the hands of chaos worshippers and barbaric aliens. In mid-M38, Ecclesiarch Decus VI created two more orders militant, the Order of the Bloody Rose and the Order of the Sacred Rose, based at the Convent Sanctorum and Prioris, respectively. Both were formed from groups of sisters who venerated the remaining two companions of Dominica, Mina and Arabella, and although these long-dead martyrs never led their orders in battle, each was founded in one of their names, the Bloody Rose in honor of Mina, and the Sacred Rose after Arabella. During this time, numerous other orders militant, the Orders Minoris, were founded across the Imperium, and they established their own traditions, doctrines, livery, and titles. An order's warriors rarely fight together as a single unit, but instead are commonly spread throughout the galaxy, guarding various shrine worlds, prosecuting wars of faith, and waging other battles. The greater orders militant maintain subsidiary convents across the Imperium, the largest of which are referred to as preceptories, a military force that can overcome all but the most terrible foes. This term is also used to describe an organizational unit of up to 1,000 battle sisters cloistered together at one location, and it is not unknown for a preceptory to adopt subtle variations of their order's livery or traditions. The duties of the Adepta Sororitas are many and varied, and the order's militant must necessarily spread their forces thin. Every concentration of the Adeptus Ministerum's power must be defended, and a force of battle sisters will be present to guard every shrine and fortress cathedral in the Imperium, as well as the priceless sacred relics housed within them. The complement of these garrisons may vary from a few hundred warriors to guard a reliquary stronghold, to a single battle sister, maintaining a constant vigil over the bones of a fallen saint. The Adepta Sororitas also provides the protectors of the ecclesiarchy's priesthood, and they are tasked with affording them any security and military support that may be required. At the behest of the Ministerum's priesthood, the Sisters of Battle are called upon to escort hierarchs through hostile war zones, eliminate heretical leaders, or launch surgical strikes to recover long-lost relics and artifacts from enemy hands. When the ecclesiarch himself declares a war of faith, it is the fanatically loyal Adepta Sororitas who provide its military might, slaying the Emperor's enemies without mercy or compassion. Many cardinals call upon the Battle Sisters to enforce tithe requirements on their dioceses, and to remind the Imperium's populace of their duties to the Adeptus Ministerum. Consequently, the power-armored, bolter-wielding Sisters of Battle that are most strongly identified with the incontrovertible power of the ecclesiarchy. Warriors who enforce doctrine at the barrel of a gun and secure for the Ministerum those worlds that cannot be won over with words alone. The Order's militant also form an internal policing force for the ecclesiarchy itself. The Battle Sisters may be dispatched to deal with a troublesome cardinal who has lost his way, either through their mere presence and the threat it implies, or, in more serious cases, by forcibly and permanently removing them from power. The Order of the Ebon Chalice. We're gonna do this one as just a little teaser for next time, I think. The Order of the Ebon Chalice is the oldest of the Order's militant, founded at the birth of the Adepta Sororitas by Alicia Dominica, the patron saint of the sisterhood. Dominica led her warriors in countless crusades against the enemies of the Imperium, and she was the first heroine to be proclaimed a living saint by the ecclesiarchy. The uniforms of Dominica's order are based on the original garments worn by the daughters of the Emperor, and their combat doctrines, based on equal parts religious devotion and training, have remained largely unchanged for 4,000 years. The Order's symbol is a flaming, skull-filled chalice, a representation of the terrible knowledge imparted to Dominica when she was brought before the Golden Throne. And that is where we're going to bring tonight's video to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.